بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير ثم أما بعد والحمد لله. Respected brothers and sisters and those joining online, welcome to another one of our hadith lessons from Riyadh al-Salihin, brought to you from here in Darul Ummah, Masjid Shadwell, East London. Alhamdulillah, today we are continuing with where we left off last lesson, which was hadith number 1535. And that was in the chapter of the book of prohibited deeds, things that you're not supposed to do. And specifically in the category of we were talking about the topic of backbiting, and then there was a smaller discussion about some cases in which backbiting is permissible. Some cases in which backbiting is permissible. What those cases are and when are they permissible, you have to refer to that lesson. We went through some specific cases. You can't just say sometimes it's allowed and sometimes it's not. It's only in certain specific cases in which it's not allowed. You would be allowed to mention your brother or your sister in the absence in a negative way, and those are listed in our previous lesson. The previous lesson was not last week, because last week I had to go to this. For the whole of last week I was on a training for community organizing and leadership, which was a different type of training. It was very interesting. Alhamdulillah. So this week we're carrying on. I was supposed to do Islamic studies yesterday, but I've got a bit of a cold, which is in the background. But I'm trying to not let it, sort of defeat me. Yesterday I had to rest. So inshallah we'll carry on today. Tomorrow, Quran Hadith Class will also continue inshallah. And as we've announced, there will be a special guest coming from Turkey joining us, who's an Imam and a Qari. Inshallah, hopefully you'll enjoy that tomorrow. Our chapter today is باب تحريم النميمة وهي نقل الكلام بين الناس على جهة الإفساد. The chapter which is going to be talking about the prohibition of slander and calumny. Slander and spreading news from one person to another person, trying to cause beef and fighting and argument and animosity between them. This is one of the very, 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 very big major sins in Islam. We've already said ghiba is haram. And ghiba, the sin of it is like eating the flesh of your dead brother. Eating the flesh of your dead brother. Can you imagine eating a human being a cannibal? And imagine it's your own brother. Imagine it's your own fellow. Eating their flesh. That's how bad ghiba is. Now ghiba is that bad. Slander is a level worse. Because ghiba is to mention about your brother or your sister in the absence something which may be true, something which is true. So for example, you say this guy, he doesn't look nice, or she doesn't look nice, she looks ugly, whatever. All these negative things you can say, and you say, well, it's true. And you might try to justify by saying, but it's true. The reality is, the Prophet ﷺ said that ghiba is when it is true. If it's true, then it's ghiba. Then it's backbiting. Even if it's true, it doesn't mean it's allowed for you to backbite about that. Because if it's true, then that's called backbiting. What if it's not true? Then this is a level worse, and that's called slandering. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, هَمَّازٍ مَشَّاءٍ بِنَمِيمٍ. Allah is mentioning those who go around people and talking to them and telling them namima, negative things, carrying the news of one people to another. This is so common. Going to one person saying, oh, Aisha said something about you. She's alright, yeah, she was saying good stuff, but Aisha said at the end that, you don't look that nice. And then from Aisha she goes to Fatima, she's telling Fatima about Aisha, yeah? And then she goes to Aisha and says, Fatima, she basically, I don't think she likes you that much. And there you go. Why? Because the other day we were in some dawat, we were in some event, we were in some wedding, and she was kind of dissing your outfit. Something like that. That was an example from sisters, brothers, men, saying bad stuff about one another. I don't know what you guys talk about in school or in college now, because I'm getting quite distant from that, because it's a long time ago for me. But yeah, you could be talking about dead style, dead haircut, dead this, dead that, weird person, all of that, bad, all of this stuff, okay? When you do namima and carrying bad news from one person about another person, and then taking bad person from that, and trying to cause beef, trying to cause fasad, trying to cause argument and fight, this is called namima. It's a major sin. Allah is cursing them in the Quran. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. There is no word that you can say except for there are raqib and atid, angels that are noting every single word that you say, and they're recording it. As for the hadith 1536, عن حذيفة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يدخل الجنة نمام. Look at this. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu arda is narrating the Prophet Muhammad said that if you want to go to Jannah, then know this. The one who carries bad news from one person to another, trying to cause fight between them, will not go to Jannah. It's a big sin. It will stop you from going to Jannah. عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مر بقبرين فقال إنهما يعذبان وما يعذبان في كبير بلى وما يعذبان في كبير بلى إنه كبير أما أحدهما فكان يمشي بالنميمة وأما الآخر فكان لا يستتر من بوله. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet Muhammad passed by two graves. You know the graves and the punishment of the grave. You know, in the grave we have a life. You know that, right? We have a life before this life, and then we have a life of the dunya, then we have a life of the grave, then we have the life of the akhirah. Okay, and there's also more detailed explanation, more detailed explanation of what these lives are and what they separated to. When you're in the grave, you could be rewarded or you could be punished. To believe in the fact that you could be rewarded or punished in the grave is from your aqeedah as well. As Muslims, as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe that the adhab of qabr and the life of the qabr and the life of the barzakh is true. It's not a dream. It's not something you feel emotions. It's not something you see in your sleep. It's a reality. It's in a realm though, however, that's not within our realm of existence. It's in a way that we may not be able to notice, but those who are experiencing will be able to notice. So the Prophet ﷺ one day is walking by two graves and he says, those two people inside those graves are being punished. And the screams of those who are being tormented in their graves could be heard by everything. Everything can hear the screams of those who are being tormented in the grave. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, may Allah protect us all. Human beings are not allowed to hear that. Allah doesn't let us hear that because that's a part of the test. If you can see the results of the test while you're in the test, then is it a test? Right? So we can't hear that test. We can't hear those screams. But the Prophet ﷺ was allowed to hear, in that particular scenario, the punishment that these people inside their graves are being punished. And he said that both of the persons in these graves are being tortured. And they are being tortured for a cardinal sin. And indeed they are being punished for a big sin. One of them used to do namima. Used to go around people telling people calumnies, like spreading rumors between people to cause fight. That's one of the sins. And the other person, look at this, brothers and sisters, listen attentively to this, because I know a lot of people they need to hear this. One of them used to not save themselves from being soiled and dirtied by their own urine. Meaning they don't clean themselves properly after doing urine. A lot of the Eastern people, Middle Eastern people and Eastern people, we have this very strong habit of washing ourselves properly after we do number 2. Correct? But it's surprising that we don't have that same level of hygiene when it comes to number 1. Does that make sense to you? A lot of people, they will stand and they will urinate and they will not even care if the splashes are coming onto their clothes and their body. This is najasa. This is dirty. This is filth. This will render you impure. You can't pray in that. Furthermore, after they have urinated, they don't clean themselves properly. And especially for men, I will say, you have to be extra careful, especially when you grow up a little bit. And it is a fact. There might be children here, but this is a fact. As you grow up, you have to be extra careful because a lot of the time it takes more time for the urine to fully discontinue. So you have to wait a little bit. You have to try your best to make sure that there are no drops of urine left after you finish urinating. If you don't clean yourself from urine properly, then you are najis. You're impure, your wudu is not valid, your clothes are invalid, your salah is not valid. So that means your ibadah is not valid, and so therefore you can be punished in the grave. So not cleansing ourselves properly from urination, a lot of people, Muslims, they might be proper born Muslims, but they're very lazy with this regard. They don't clean themselves properly after urinating. You'll see urine on the toilet seat, you'll see urine on the floor, you'll see urine stinking, they'll be stinking. Just because you have a shower every day doesn't mean you're clean from urine, mate. A lot of people are showering every day, but they don't clean themselves properly from urine. Sometimes you have to wait, and I'm being practical here. Sometimes you have to wait, especially as you grow up, as men especially. Sometimes if you have urine problems, you have to stand up sometimes. You have to do istijmar. Istijmar means to hold something in place so that the urine drops are finished. It might be tissue. Back in the day, people used to use small stones made out of like clay. Not clay as in like soil, because they never had tissue, so they used to do that. So either way, the main thing is, shahid is, and the most important thing is that you have to cleanse yourself properly from urination. And also stool, of course, and any other najasat. But urine is very common, because urine you do multiple times in a day. Whereas, number two, you might do lesser in number. Furthermore, urine is more difficult to clean sometimes, especially when it comes to laziness. So be very, very, very careful with this regard, brothers and sisters. Yes?
Would you have to make ghusl
You don't have to make ghusl, but you have to wash the area off. If you have some urine that's touched, for example, and this is very true as well. Sometimes you go to a service station, and mashallah, a lot of us, we go and use the service station. We don't use the urinals, we go to the toilet even if we do urine, right? But you see that you're not sure about the toilet seat. What should you do? You should clean that toilet seat. How do you do it? You should get tissue, and you should wipe it. Then you should get some water, and wipe it with water as well. Maybe you can wet the tissue. Because a lot of the time, sorry?
Can you squat over the seat or something?
Can you squat? The toilet might break though. What if the toilet breaks?
No, like.
Oh, as in this.
Over the seat.
Okay, as in not putting. If you have to do that, you can do that as well. But if you want to sit down, so you can cleanse yourself properly, this is a practical example, practical advice. You need to go to the toilet. You see that, for example, there might be some droplets of water. Most of the time it isn't, because UK is quite fine. But if you travel abroad, especially like third world countries, it's very difficult. So what you need to do is you need to get some tissue or something, wipe it, and get some water and wipe it as well so that it's clean. Yes?
No, people have discharge. So people have discharge.
What do you mean by discharge?
I said after the urine, clean up after themselves. Say they go for like a 2-minute walk.
Yeah.
Discharge.
You have to be careful about that. That is what I'm talking about. So what do you need to do? Sometimes you need to cough to make sure the pressure is making it all go out. Sometimes you want to stand up. In the toilet, you might need to stand up. If those who have medical conditions, you might need to stand up, and you might need to then sit down again for all of the urine to flow out.
Some people said that do 40 steps.
If you can, I mean, how you can't do 40 steps in the toilet. In the village, I can remember when we were kids, we used to see some people. After the urine, they used to go and take a good walk and then go back, and then they used to clean themselves properly. I have another idea I'm going to give you. This is especially for men, for boys. If you have this problem, what you can do, if you're not doing wudu straight away, you can get some tissue. You can get some tissue, you clean yourself properly. Then you can get some tissue and put it inside your underwear, okay? So that while you, for example, while you're walking outside, for example, immediately, the tissue will consume any droplets. And then you remove that tissue, and then you do the wudu. Does that make sense to you? Because obviously, you have to make solutions for your problems, isn't it? At the end of the day, we don't want to be praying and leaving urine in our body. That's exactly what the hadith is talking about. We have to be very careful about discharge. Now, if someone has got a medical condition, which means they can't control this, that's a separate mas'ala. We're talking about generally, urine is a very big najasa, and we have to be very, even if it doesn't feel like it, because it's just water, right? It feels like it's water, but it's a big najasa. It's a very big impurity. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ألا أنبئكم ما العضه هي النميمة القالة بين الناس. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud narrates the Prophet Muhammad said, shall I not inform you of that which is falsehood and slandering? He said it is calumny which is committed by people by carrying news from one person to another. Brothers and sisters, I hope you understand the seriousness of these two sins, because people are being punished in the grave because of it. Calumny, slandering, and not cleansing yourself from urine. Prohibition of people or reporting people's talk to others unnecessarily. باب النهي عن نقل الحديث وكلام الناس إلى ولاة الأمور إذا لم تدعو إليه إذا لم تدعو إليه حاجة كخوف مفسدة النحو. So basically, this is talking about, you know how some people like to grass of everyone. You know, like we have in society, no one likes the snitches, right? No one likes the grasses in the classroom. The teachers, no one likes them. Okay, now that's a separate social issue. What we're talking about in this hadith here is, you know how some people, just to beg up to the authorities, they will go around telling and voluntarily spying on everyone and telling, oh, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. That is not exactly praiseworthy. To carry the news of people unnecessarily without the fear. If there's a crime, you need to report it. If there's someone done a murder or committed a crime, something serious or even not serious, if you need to report a crime, you need to report a crime. But some people have a bad habit of carrying the news of others to everyone, especially those of authority. Now, you might not relate to this now because you live in a different society, a different time, but you can imagine if you're living in a village kind of situation or a town of the old times, if someone is carrying news of information just to try and, as an excuse to conversate with the governor, or with the minister, or with the mayor, or with the judge, to try and befriend, or pretend like, look, I'm telling you information, so I'm close to you, because maybe they have their own interest, conflict of interest there. So this is not allowed. So Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Don't aid one another for sinning. Okay, the explanation is in the hadith 1539. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يبلغني أحد من أصحابي عن أحد شيئا فإني أحب أن أخرج إليكم وأنا سليم الصدر. Look at the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, Sayyidina Abdullah al-Mas'ud is narrating, the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said, none of my companions should convey to me anything regarding another companion. Meaning, don't start telling me things about other people. I don't want to hear from you about other people unless there's a need. If there's a need, he will tell you, I want to hear about this, can you come and tell me? But voluntarily just going to the Prophet ﷺ, or going to a leader, or going to the governor, or going to the imam, going to your father, just telling info about others, just for the sake of chatting, just for the sake of getting close to that person. The Prophet ﷺ said that none of my companions should convey to me anything regarding another, because I want to meet everyone with a clean heart. I.e., I want to meet everyone with a neutral mindset. If someone's already come and told you, oh, this person, you know what, he's alright, yeah, but watch out for him, he's a bit dodgy. So now, even though that may not be true, when I now go and meet that person, you're going to look at them in that skeptical way, and you're going to be you're going to try and match their behavior to being dodgy. Does that make it? It's a psychological thing. That's why carrying the news of others voluntarily and unnecessarily is discouraged. Again, this does not negate that when there is a need to report a crime, to report an incident, you must do so. For example, right now, we have a huge rise in Islamophobia. Islamophobia. People are being targeted for being Muslim, especially sisters, for wearing the hijab. Today, there was a threat to the Islamic mosque. The whole mosque had to be evacuated. There was no Maghrib Jama'ah. It was closed for public. Okay? But alhamdulillah, it's all calm now, it's fine. But why? Because they received a threat. There was a school that received a threat. So now Islamophobia is on the rise. What do we need to do? We need to report these crimes. You might think, what are they going to do? But the reality is, we have to keep on reporting so that at least when these cases mount up and the officers don't respond, for example, our arguments, they will respond. MashaAllah, in the case of ELM, they responded very quickly. It was nice, it was good. They done their job correctly. But even if they didn't respond, it will be recorded, the CAD number, the crime reference number that you received. This is evidence that whether they've acted upon our reporting of the Islamophobia or not. You know that as Muslims, as people of faith, as we have a right to be protected. Our religion and our identity and our faith is protected. And nobody should be targeted because of their faith. We say this all the time. We should, just like we as Muslims shouldn't be targeted because of Muslims, Jewish people should not be targeted because they don't think what's happening in Gaza is to do with the Jewish people that are here. We've seen them, they coming with us in the protests, and they're opposing the crimes and the genocide of the Gazans. So be very careful, because your mind can play tricks on you and people around you might be giving stupid ideas. So people of all faith, we live in a country where all faiths have a respect. And even if it was a Muslim country, you can't target someone for being of a particular faith. This is racism and this is not allowed. Islam does not teach that at all. Okay, so yes, with the rise of Islamophobia, you must definitely report it. We just spoke about, the hadith is talking about unnecessarily taking gossips of each other and sharing it. This we're talking about a specific case of reporting hate crime, reporting Islamophobia, reporting incidents, even if it's something small. Someone swore at you while you're on the bus, on the train. Someone called you a racist call while you're driving, and etc. You should report these. So you have these crime references and they will build up on the database. So even if it's not taken seriously, it will be on the record that it wasn't taken seriously. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? Yeah, as Muslims, we have to start realizing that this is your country. I don't think anyone here is going to go anywhere. Is anyone going anywhere to leave the UK? We're all staying. Trust me. Reality is most people, 99.9%, we're here to stay. Your kids are going to be here. Your grandkids are going to be here. So you might as well start realizing that and accepting that this is your country. And start being part of society and start getting involved and start reporting the crimes where you need to. Start being a good citizen when you need to. You are a part of the fabric of this country. We are British. You know, most kids nowadays, their grandparents were even British or British. British is that Eastern way of saying it. So yes, inshallah we won't go into the next chapter because I want to talk about it a bit more. It's a very interesting chapter, which is the two-faced people, how Islam prohibits it, and also an incident of, which is very interesting. I think it will open up a lot of discussions about speaking ill of even governors and rulers in their absence. Is it allowed and what is not allowed, etc. Inshallah, it's a big discussion, but inshallah we'll leave that for next week. But as for today, to summarize, we have literally studied 3 hadith and some ayat. But the summary of it is that it is explicitly and extremely haram for you to slander someone, for you to do Namima, Calumny, for you to not cleanse yourself from urination, especially be careful with that regard, and also to not just carry gossip of each other, especially to those in authority, those who are in positions, because you should let them, especially when someone's a judge, a governor, an imam. Like sometimes, for example, I'll give you to contextualize, I'll give this example inshallah, then we'll finish. As an imam, sometimes people will come to you for marriage cases, okay, divorce cases. My wife done this, she's so bad, I don't like her. That's why I got married to her, because I liked her, but I don't like her as well. Okay, my husband is so bad because he doesn't do this, but I still do like him, I still want to be with him, but I don't like him at the same time. A lot of the time people are just trying to figure out what they want while they're talking to you. So sometimes people will try to talk to me before the meeting. They try to have a chat with me in the mosque. Like, Imam, can I speak to you quickly? I've got an appointment with you afterwards, but can I quickly talk to you first? I'm like, no, I don't want no information. I don't want you to tell me something in my mind, so when I go and see your partner and your spouse, your news comes first. No, I want to be fair. So you're going to both be in the room, and then you're going to share your portions of the story with fair and equal time. So that it's a fair listening, fair hearing, if you like. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because if I hear one person's story before Salah, or in the masjid, and then I go on here, then automatically my mind's going to be kind of biased. So you have to be fair when you're trying to deal with people, and that's applicable to all, even between siblings. If you're trying to sort a problem out, even between brothers and sisters, and friends, you have to listen to everyone fairly and unbiased, so that you can be just. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. There weren't any questions, right? You've already asked some questions. Subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.